Hey guys, same look. Although I could have maybe spent more time on my hair, but sometimes after you spend like an hour and a half on your face, you're just about over it. So in this video, I'm going to rank my favorite palettes that I purchased in 2018. My ranking is going to be a combination of just my favorites and a combination of what I got the most use out of. Now, there are palettes that aren't bad, but I just didn't get use out of because their color stories weren't unique or the looks were limited. There is a couple that kind of in the middle of the pack that I just got my hands on and I'm still getting a feel for, and I'll explain those as I go, but let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up again. So the worst palette that I actually spent my money on in 2018, and I don't know why. It was on sale. I'm just one of those people. Like, I just can't help myself. And I'd heard so many good things about BH Cosmetics, and I have a feeling it was on sale because they just needed to make it go away. It was a real bad decision on their part. Was this Galaxy Chic palette. It is seriously, to me, just a bunch of shiny sidewalk chalk. It's kind of hard to explain other than it's literally ASMR moment. Nothing is super pigmented and it just kind of blends away. There is no matte shades whatsoever, so it is not a standalone palette in my opinion. It's really hard to see when you're using it what some of these colors are going to be because of the marbling, which was super appealing looking at first. And then as you blend them out, you kind of see that a lot of them are very similar. It's just not an impressive formula at all, in my opinion. I should have known when I saw it, with it being no mattes and really no highlight shades, that this was just probably not going to be a palette for me. And I have tried to use some of these as just toppers with other looks, and they're just not impressive. I know I didn't spend very much on it, but honestly, I wouldn't spend $1 on it. And I'll be trashing it. Next, this is not a bad palette. It was a freebie that I got with a purchase. And I just didn't get a lot of use out of it because I have these colors. It's not a super unique story, and I'm sure, as usual, this is probably a kind of dupe for something else. And this is the Makeup Revolution London Fierce as Fire palette. I think really all I did was play with this. Now, their formulas aren't bad. You can generally make a pretty good look out of it. You got to work with it. They have pretty decent fallout, but I've had worse things on my face, like trash juice. So fallout doesn't bother me as long as I can get color. So this one's kind of at the bottom. I may give it to a friend. After that is another Makeup Revolution 24 karat gold chocolate palette. I know these are like Too Faced ripoffs. Same thing. I made a couple good looks out of it. It's okay. It's a good formula. They always do a pretty good job. I think I just bought too much crap this year. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not their fault. But I just don't find myself gravitating towards it a lot. It is super powdery, but they do make some really great palettes for people that are on a budget. The next palette at the bottom, and we're getting to where already these are good palettes. I just have a lot of crap. And you could tell I've used it because they're freaking filthy. This is the Morphe 35F palette. It looks like this. I have not got a ton of use out of this, but it does have some really great toppers. It can be a little bit, I think the reason I don't really reach for it is it's a little bit overwhelming. There's only the bottom row of matte shades and the rest is all shimmers. So your looks are semi-limited. It's really great to bring along, especially if you do other people's makeup, to use as a shimmer palette to top a look for. But overall, Morphe palettes for the price, you can't complain. The next is, oh, shocking, Morphe. Yeah, I'm one of those. Also filthy is the 35B. This palette looks like this. I actually really like this palette. I've made some really great looks with it. I did a Pat McGrath knockoff look in my Instagram that you can see. I used one of her pictures on her Instagram and used mostly from this palette and the next one I believe I'm gonna show you. I had to use several things to make a Pat McGrath look, but I did pretty good. And I've got a lot of use out of this one, especially these upper shimmers. I really enjoy these ones. All these basic Morphe palettes are $24. They're great for someone starting. One palette, if you find a color story that you like, can get you pretty far. My next palette is also filthy. It's the 35M. This was one of my favorites this year. It was one of their newer releases, if not their newest release of the larger palettes. It's got some really great bright colors in there, and I love bright colors. The metallics were really soft, easy to apply. I used a couple shades in the first video that I did. I love these down here. And I got pretty decent use out of this, and will continue to get good use out of this. The next is super random, but I got a lot of use out of this before. So Morphe wasn't at our Ulta until fairly recently, and so I had only purchased one of those online a while back. I really like to touch things and feel them before I purchase them. And this was, well, I can't remember if I purchased it or if it was a freebie. I'm honestly not sure, but I made some really great looks out of it. I got stuck on a pink glitter eye for a while, and I used this palette in specific, and it is the Reloaded Neutrals 2. I also used this in that first video, and I enjoyed it. Again, lots of fallout, but you can wear shields, you can clean up afterwards, or you can just do your foundation after. But it doesn't have a ton of shimmers. It's got what, 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest are mattes, but it's a good formula, and I enjoyed it, and the pan size is great. The next palette is actually from BoxyCharm. It was this Ace Pute one, and it is a little bit patchy, and you have to prime your lids. But if you build it, there's some really cute looks you can get from this. Another one I did on my Instagram that I really liked with the cut crease, using these shades down here, and these are really, really buttery and soft, and I thought for a BoxyCharm palette it was great. I've got a lot of use out of this, and I'll keep using it, and I really, really love this jasmine shade. I'm a sucker for a great soft creamy shimmer. So my next palette would probably be ranked higher if I got my hands on it a little bit earlier, and it's the Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. I really enjoyed this particular shade right here. Can't remember what it's called. I think it's Just a Kiss. I absolutely love it. I hope they'll like sell it individually because it's freaking beautiful. I have it on, this is actually what I'm wearing right now. I have some extra glitter on though by NBA Cosmetics. I love these guys. And this is in Bubbly. That's on top of there, and a little bit of Urban Decay heavy metal liner. But my only reservation with this is I feel like the looks are semi-limited because you have so many glitter metallics and so few matte shade varieties, and I would never have paid $55 for this. I got it half off. But like this shade alone, oddly enough, is just absolutely beautiful, and I loved it. So I will continue to use this. I'll probably do this look over and over, or a version of this look using this Dirty Money shade, pulling from different palettes to maybe get a green base underneath it. But it could have worked its way up my ranking, I think. I'm adding a picture from the Tartelette Toasted palette that I just purchased. I really enjoyed it and feel like it earned a place right here in the ranking. It's a great everyday basic palette. The next one I ranked is the James Charles palette. Now, to me, it doesn't have a shade like Just a Kiss or Dirty Money that really speaks to me, but so much variety. I can pull a shade probably to use with that palette or any other palette if I feel like there's something missing. Halloween time, there's just so many things I can do with this, and the formulas are great. If you use a base on your eyes, everything blends well. If you use the right brushes and techniques, this really is a great palette for $39, even though it's more expensive because his name is attached to it, and it is quite bigger than the other Morphe palettes. There is just so much you can do with this, and as you can tell, I've made a crusty mess of it. So I've obviously played around with this. So I really did enjoy this palette and will keep enjoying this palette. The next one is my Jaclyn Hill palette. I don't know that it really is above those, but I just have some sentimental attachment to this one. Probably because my first one got stolen at a hotel, and it's the first palette that I've ever repurchased. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's so many other palettes, had they gotten stolen, I would have just been like, well, it was nice knowing you, bye. But this one got stolen. I happened to get a gift card for my birthday, and it was automatic, like, yep, I'm repurchasing that. Same thing, it's one of those palettes you can get so many freaking looks out of all on its own. I did some really wonderful looks that are on my Instagram with this bad boy, and whenever there's something I'm missing from another palette, I know I can open this one too and find just what I need. And the formulas are super, super great. Speaking of, I did buy one from the vault, and it's not even in my makeup room. I don't know where it is. That might tell you something. I'll keep it to myself. Next is the Sultry palette, and we are in the top 3 now, folks. I really love this one. This is the first ABH palette I've ever purchased. I have made a mess of it. But the shimmers are super buttery soft. I do pretty much always use my finger on them. They do tend to transfer. I have very hooded eyeballs, and they do tend to transfer quite a bit, but the ease of application like just really draws me in. I really love that. And I do really make sure my setting spray gets all over my eyes when I use this, because it will kind of fleck off, but I am just a sucker for a smooth blendable formula, and I got a lot of use out of this and a lot of different looks. I was surprised that you could do the dark smoky eye, and I really like cool tone. I do tend to do a lot of this burgundy look, but I do love a cool tone palette, and the packaging is just adorable. Now, I don't know if I purchased this year, honestly, but this bad boy, there is no denying, out of all the ones that I'm about to open, that this one has had the most love and attention from me. We've been through some stuff. We've been through good times and bad times. She's had some nights out with me. I absolutely love Juvia's Place. They have an amazing formula on their eyeshadows. Their shimmers are buttery, bootylicious, freaking soft. Yes, I said bootylicious. They are just so soft. Like I said in the other video, I don't know if there comes a point where your palette is just so freaking disgusting you should just throw it away and get a new one, but I don't know that I could do that. I love her. These two transitions are just so on point for me. I love them. I pull from them a lot. This one I broke. I packed it back in there. This is just a great palette. I highly recommend giving Juvia's Place a try. Find a color story that speaks to you and pick one up. They're super great, super affordable. She does tons of sales. I assume it's a she. They do tons of sales. Highly, highly, highly recommend trying one of these bad boys out. And last but not least, and a lot of people are not going to agree with me, but this is the first super expensive thing I've ever purchased for myself, and I never understood it. We just recently got an Ulta here, and I wasn't a makeup person growing up. Not a lot. I love doing makeup on other people, never my own, and I was always a drugstore girl. But I've lived in Casper, Wyoming for 9 years, and we just got an Ulta this last year. So drugstore only. The only time I got to touch makeup was when I went and visited back home, or if I went out of town, which was rare because then like finding parking downtown Denver.
All the anxiety.
So I just didn't. So when I see this hype over these $129 palettes, it's like, no, thank you. I'll stick to my Makeup Revolution. I'll stick to my Morphe. I'll make it work. Well, I walked into a Sephora one day and they had one of these just sitting open, and I touched it. I made the mistake and I touched it, and I never felt anything like it. And I brought her home, and I don't know how to explain it, and you just can't catch it on camera, but I guess she puts like crystals in some of these, and this has like the most amazing reflex in it, and they apply just like heaven. If I prep my eyes properly, I don't experience the fallout that some people do. And while these shades all look fairly similar in the pan, they apply so differently, and they are so smooth and so buttery. And I know this price is outrageous, and I do not recommend that you just go out and spend it. Spend it if you have it. Spend it if you have it and it's something that's special to you. Buy it for someone as a gift if they are special to you. Wait for it to go on sale. There's always sales. There's always 20% off, things like that. Do not compromise your utility bills, the food in your stomach, your car payment, your insurance to get any palette or any piece of makeup ever. No matter how great anybody tells you anything is. Exhibit A. Don't do it. I could still eat, I'm just saying. Don't always follow the hype. But to me, I loved this palette. I've enjoyed this palette. I will hit pan. It's one of those things where I could probably semi-recreate with some of these Morphe palettes, but it would take me an hour, where I can create a super beautiful look with this in like 15 minutes. So this bad boy won my heart this year. Now, I think my mama, who loves me a whole lot, bought me a Pat McGrath Mothership palette. So, we shall see if it outranks her. Or if it ends up at the bottom of these. Now, like I said, this is all my humble opinion. The only one of these that I think is absolute crap is that BH Cosmetics one. And I'm super interested to try something else from them. And I will. But as you can see from what I've just purchased this year, I need to take a little break. Just a little bitty witty break. So like a week, you know. It's fine. I'll retire when I'm never. Anyway, I'd love to hear what your guys' favorite palettes were this year and which ones were a total bust for you. Leave that down in the comments. Follow me on Instagram. Like, subscribe. Share with your friends and family or your family. You don't know what that means. It's just what I call people who are friends, who are like your family. That's what I've had to acquire here, moving way too far away from my family. So I have made family. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year.